Hello from Branson, Missouri. I'm Nanny, and I have some special recipes for you today. I decided today so that I could show you some more Thanksgiving dishes and not spend time just mixing them up. I have gone ahead and prepared them, and I'll talk about them a little bit, and then I will post the recipes for you. So I'm sure you're thinking about Thanksgiving, and this year our gatherings are going to be different. We're probably going to have smaller groups, or you may not even be gathering with your family and friends this year. So I want to show you some recipes that can be adapted for a decent sized group or for 1 or 2 or 3 people. So the first thing I want to show you is a chicken cooked in a crock pot, and I hope you can see this. It's been cooking about 6 hours, and it has some great broth, and it even browns in the crock pot. I don't understand how it does that, but if any of you know me, you know I love to use crock pots. So this chicken is very simple, and if you're not going to do a turkey this year because you're just having a few people, this is a good way to still have a poultry and with little effort too. All you do on this is you take a whole chicken, wash it good, and then season it the way you like. Now you could put some rosemary in the cavity of it with a mixture of salt, pepper, garlic salt, onion salt, just however you like to season it. And then you put it in a crock pot, and you can see I've got these crock pot liners too, which I really like because it makes cleanup a breeze. And then when you're cooking something in the crock pot, it does take longer, but you're saving electricity by not turning your oven on, you're not heating up your kitchen, and you're leaving your ovens available for other things that you want to cook. So this is a whole chicken in a crock pot, and it's a good all winter meal. And if you can see, it makes a lot of broth, so if you want to have some noodles with this, you could certainly add those. Now I would recommend you cooking the noodles and broth on the stovetop instead of using the crock pot for that. So far we have a chicken, a whole chicken. I'll move this out of the way. That smells so good. And the next thing I have for you is dressing. Most of us use dressing for our Thanksgiving meal, and it amazes me how different dressings can be across the United States. I have a friend that would not use cornbread in hers whatsoever, and then I have another friend that's all she uses. She makes her dressing out of cornbread. Now, Mom always just put a few pieces of crumbled up cornbread in her dressing along with bread. She would save her biscuits that were left over from other meals. She would save those, put them in the freezer, and then when it was time to make the dressing, she would have a concoction of all kinds of breads too. So I started making this crock pot dressing several years ago. When the church we belonged to, we would have either Thanksgiving or Christmas dinners for people that were going to be alone on Christmas, and we needed a way to keep it warm. We didn't have a lot of oven space, so I found this recipe for crock pot dressing, and it's our favorite now. The things that are a little different about this is you don't use eggs in it. You do use a chopped up apple in it, and a can or 2, depending on how much dressing you're making, of cream of chicken soup, along with the normal things, the celery and the onions and the sage. But this is a a really good recipe too. I know I'm saying that a lot, but it is. And if you don't have one of these crock pots that aren't as deep as normal crock pots, oh, you will love it and you'll use it a lot. I've got this small one, and then I've got a larger one, and then I got one for our daughter too, and she really likes it. So like I said, this cooks about 4 to 6 hours in a crock pot, depending on how much you're making. It has a good flavor. It stays moist. It doesn't dry out. Now, some people will use just fresh bread and tear it up and have a really soft dressing. That's how my mother-in-law made hers, and it was really good. But Mom always dried her bread out, cut it in small pieces, and sometimes she would even bake it in a low oven to make it a little crisp. And so Mom did it, so that's how I do it too. But I'm going to post this recipe also. So if you have a limited oven space, or you just want to try something new, and try this crock pot dressing. Alrighty, now for the good stuff. I've got a couple of pies here that I made this morning, and then I'm going to put these in the freezer and make a spot here so you can see, and they will be ready for Thanksgiving dinner. Now, these pies, one of them is a pecan pie and one of them is a pumpkin pie. The pecan pie was a recipe from my husband's aunt. Her name was Geneva, and we've used this recipe for a long time too. It's very simple to make, and again, I will post this recipe. And then we have the traditional pumpkin pie. You can't have Thanksgiving without a pumpkin pie. This recipe is the recipe that my mom always used, and I use it too because Mom used it. Now, one thing Mom would always do though, she would put her canned pumpkin in a skillet and heat it about 10 or 15 minutes. I never knew why she did that. I wish I had asked her that. I've wished that many times. The only thing I can think of is maybe when people would use the real whole pumpkins and had a lot of moisture in it, maybe that was cooking out some of the moisture in it. But this is called my mom's pumpkin pie, and I will post this recipe too. So that's 4 recipes that we have for you today. And you know, we have a lot to be thankful for. I know these are trying times for a lot of us, but if you sit back and think of the many blessings that you have too. I know this year we were blessed with a new great-granddaughter, and she's brought so much joy to our life. And then just this past weekend, we learned that our grandson proposed to his girlfriend, and she said yes. So Samantha, welcome to the family. But you know, it's not all joy, and I realize that too, that there are a lot of people that are hurting. There's a lot of illness, there's a lot of loneliness, financial problems. Some people even have a lack of food, and some are working from home, and that can cause a stress too. And some have been through hurricanes. It just seems like it goes on, and it would be really easy to have a pity party. But you know what? We can do other things than have a pity party. I want to read you something that I found back in the 90s. My husband was transferred to Ohio, and he was working long hours setting up a plant, and our kids were back here in Missouri going to college, so I was all by myself, and I had a mega pity party, and it lasted for several weeks too. So one day I was reading in the local paper, and this poem was in there, and I'd like to read it to you today because it really slapped me in the face and changed the way that I volunteer. It starts, I needed a friend, good and true, to cheer and help me the whole day through. My burdens were heavy, my courage was weak. A friend in need I went out to seek. A person I found in sorest distress, their burden of care I felt heavily pressed. Their illness was cruel, I wept in their grief, searching for something to bring them relief. I had not a moment to think of my pain. Perplexities vanished to come not again. I think and believe it surely must be. I needed a friend who needed me. So sometimes if we just get up and quit having a pity party and go try to help someone, it does so much for us. It just a smile. And you know, since we've been wearing these masks, you know, I like to smile at people. I always have. Well, I noticed when I'd go someplace, I'd smile at them and nobody was smiling back. And that just kind of ticked me off, to tell you the truth. But then I realized it was the mask. So now, instead of smiling at somebody when I had my mask on, I just raise my eyebrows and make my eyes great big, and they wonder what I'm up to then. So I hope you have a great day and enjoy Thanksgiving with or without your family. Take time to be thankful for what you do have. And we're going to take next week off, but then when we come back, we're going to have some recipes that will have you say, what? We're going to make a miracle whip cake that's from a recipe I've had for a lot of years from a dear friend of mine down in Cassville, Missouri. We're also going to make fried mush, and we're going to make a hominy casserole. Yeah, I said hominy. Come back and see us. I think you'll like it. Bye-bye.